Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Featuring sound effects and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. Listen to Star Wars Light of the Jedi, written by Charles Soule, read by Mark Thompson, and Star Wars The High Republic, A Test of Courage, written by Justina Ireland and read by Kaylor Lee. Available now wherever audiobooks are sold.
This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is Vanessa Marshall, Harrison Dula from Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to Coffee with Kenobi, show number 388. We are your spoiler-free place for Star Wars discussion, analysis, and rhetoric. I am your host, Dan Z, drinking One Nation coffee out of my black and silver Lucasfilm coffee mug, thrilled to talk some Star Wars with each and every one of you. On today's show, Candace Caw and Maggie Lovitt join me to talk about your top 5 favorite spoiler-free things that we love about Light of the Jedi. It's an amazing book. 3 weeks in a row now. It is the New York Times bestseller for fiction, and I know some of you are reading it, some of you are about to read it, and some of you are just very much excited to see what's going to happen, but you're not quite sure if you're going to pick it up yet or not. So we have produced a show for you that's completely spoiler-free. So if you're even remotely curious about Light of the Jedi, I think this will be a fun show to whet the appetite. And if you have already read the book, like so many of us have, you're going to know exactly what we're talking about. But I think we had a great time. It was fun to chat with Candace and Maggie. And at the end of the show, they share some information about a really important fundraiser. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite coffee mug, and let's have some coffee with Kenobi.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.
Joining us today for a cup of coffee to talk about the top 5 things we love about Light of the Jedi, the new exciting series. I guess it's kicking off a whole new era of Star Wars set 200 years before The Phantom Menace. We have 2 brand new guests to Coffee with Kenobi, but they're certainly no strangers to fandom and podcasting. First, we have Candace Caw from the Geeky Waffle Network. Candace, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being on. I'm looking forward to your perspective. Also looking forward to, from your Money Geek, and let's talk about Star Wars on YouTube, Maggie Lovitt. Maggie, welcome to Coffee with Kenobi.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you are so welcome. It's going to be fun. So let's just start it this way, ladies. Go ahead and tell me just sort of overall, and yes, people are worried. We're not going to spoil anything. Coffee with Kenobi does not spoil. We're not going to spoil anything. We're going to be, we're critical thinkers. We're intellectually honest. We're going to talk about things that we love about this book, but we're going to do it from a spoiler-free perspective. So Candace, let us know overall kind of your thoughts on this novel.
What I really loved about it is the way it describes the Force, because I've been wanting to be a Jedi since I was 9. So like having this idea, like the Force is like a song to some people, like they hear like singing almost, is like really interesting. Mm-hmm. And just the different ways the Force can be used when you have so many Jedi like that is so cool.
I agree. Yeah, the idea of the Force is lyrical, I think, is just so cool. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Maggie, what about you? Tell me what your overall thoughts on this book.
I thought there were so many new characters that were so interesting and so different from what we've seen before, not just because we're seeing more non-human Jedi, but just the way they interact with the Force, like Candace was saying, and also just their philosophy seems so different from what we're used to. So it's nice to see kind of this expansion on the Jedi.
I agree. Yeah, for sure. I think my favorite thing about it, well, there's a lot of things I really like about it, but I like the fact that I was able to look at Star Wars from a new perspective without any of those familiar tropes. There were no real anchors. I mean, Yoda's mentioned 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more of like a throwaway or a kind of a tip of the cap. But it's really just very refreshing. And I mean, let's just jump right into it. Maggie, we'll start with you. And my list isn't in any sort of a hierarchy or order. Is either of yours?
Mm-mm.
No.
Okay. Phew. Okay, good. I was thought I'm going to have to do this really quickly on the fly, so I don't have to do that. Good. All right. So let's go ahead and start with you, Maggie. What is the first one you have?
I really appreciate it that the quote unquote enemies in this book aren't at all like anything we've seen previous in Star Wars. They're very different, and I like that.
Yeah, well, talk about that a little bit. Tell me, like, I mean, I think we can do it.
I know it's so hard. I'm like,
I
how
know.
hard can I get?
You're a writer. You got this.
I like that the Nihil seem to be the antithesis of everything the Jedi are. And I appreciate that there's some topics that are touched on in this book, and I'm hoping in more of the High Republic that hasn't really been touched on before with the Jedi in particular, and how the Jedi like expand out into the Outer Rim and essentially like help colonize it, which is something that as a historian and anthropologist, I've always been very interested in, and like the wider kind of Star Wars culture. So it's nice to see a group of characters like the Nihil interacting with that.
I agree. And the way that they kind of explain almost like the Nihil are like a beehive. And you're going to come to the Outer Rim, you're going to try to colonize out here. Oh no. And then it just sort of sets these horrible things into motion. Yeah, we're going to talk about the Nihil a lot, I am sure. Candace, what's the first one that you have?
I really like seeing a different version of like the Padawan and master relationship, and just seeing like how different masters like teach. Because like we see that like in Jedi Fallen Order, we obviously see Anakin teaching Ahsoka and Obi-Wan teaching Anakin. But like just seeing like in the height of the Republic, what training was really like for Padawan.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like you need hazard pay. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, this notion of he keeps throwing me off these. I mean, I don't like heights anyway, so I would be a terrible Jedi. I wouldn't have made it. But
Would
yeah,
you be
I think
scared
that's
of it if you had the Force, though? You could be like, stopping yourself.
That's true. I will say, it is hard to talk about this, but I think you both know what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
The way a certain storyline gets resolved is really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of what we're talking about. Anyway, ambiguity rules. Okay, my number one that I have is the way that Charles Soule writes and weaves this narrative. I mean, we've known that Charles Soule is a very gifted writer. His work on the Marvel Comics is tremendous, not only in Star Wars, but Daredevil, She-Hulk, all kinds of great things that he's done. He's got his own original works. But the way that he builds these action sequences, really, there's no letdowns. I don't know about both of you, but there are some books, Star Wars and otherwise, that there are some chapters I think I get why it's there. I understand how they're constructing this narrative, but this chapter felt flat to me. I don't think there was a single dud chapter in this book at all.
I agree.
Yeah.
So Maggie, what is your second one?
For ambiguity's sake, I'm not going to say what planets we return to, but it was nice to see some familiar planets, specifically one that's like one of my favorite planets. So I was really excited to see that in the High Republic.
So just like sort of the settings and kind of giving us a familiar, it's like a new sheen over everything, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Candace, what about you?
I like the chapters like when they have like the everyday people in them, like just doing their galactic duty and, just getting that perspective, because it heightens the stakes for everything. Because these people are like living their lives. And instead of just saying so many people's lives are in risk, we actually see the lives that are being at risk.
And it makes you there are a few moments throughout this where you just feel the sting of the loss of life.
Yeah.
You really say billions of lives lost. That's just a very hard number to wrap yourself around. I don't know. My second one is what we learn and see about the Jedi as far as like teamwork, the connection they all have with one another, the family vibe that is very present. There's a certain Jedi that's very, very old in this book. And he has these moments where he remembers what he was like when he was younger. And again, we're not going to spoil it. People are going to just go crazy with this. But it's so beautifully done. And it makes you legitimately long for more, not because it's a cash grab or because we got to put more stuff out and to fill some sort of a fan quota or merchandising quota, but they legitimately build up an interest in a character that we don't know anything about, to a degree where you think, I do hope there's a spin-off novel about this character. And he's got a nickname about what he was like when he used to wield his saber. And it's really something special. I see you both nodding your head. Anything you want to add to that?
I disagree with you on that one.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
It's just hard to talk about without spoiling.
I know. Isn't this fun? It's like a fun challenge. We'll have to talk about it again when we can actually let the cat out of the bag.
Yes.
I think the first, the Jedi journals, I think they had a thing where they wouldn't talk about a book for 6 months, and they felt like that was a good enough time for people to read it. I don't know.
So hard in this day and age with spoilers.
It really is. It really is. It really is. Okay, Maggie, let's go to your third one.
So going off what you said earlier about Charles Soule and his writing, I really like the way this book was laid out, how it was in 3 parts and how there was a countdown.
Yes.
And I really appreciated the way that was done because it kind of built up this excitement and this like anxiety. And it also helped to set the scene because so often when you're reading a book, you kind of get lost at how much time has passed. And that like helped keep a running count of what was going on.
Yes. Well said. Very well said. Okay. Well, Candace, what about you? Your third one.
Trying to keep it unspoilery. So, well, you guys are talking about Charles, but I also got the audiobook too. So I was listening to Mark Thompson's take, and he's just so talented, and he does all those voices, and there's great sound editing with that as well.
The punk music. I love the punk music.
For the Nihil? Yeah.
It's just so well done. It really immerses you in the story as well, because I read and listened too. It gives a different aspect.
Oh, it's great. And Penguin Random House Audio, they're awesome. They the fact that Mark Thompson can put us in all these different characters and it's still the same person performing them is he's got a gift, obviously.
He does.
Okay, so my third one is Marshawn Rowe. Look, he is an insanely despicable character, a horrible person. But so it kind of reminds me of Heath Ledger's Joker, I guess, to a degree. I mean, now they're not the same character. They don't have the same motivations. But when they're on the screen or when they're on the page, you are so entranced in what they're doing and what they're going to do. And you feel uncomfortable. You're very riveted by how they just react to the world. And they are chaos. They are both absolute chaos. And I mean, I wouldn't have been sad if he got arrested, or I'm not subscribed to the myth of redemptive violence. So I'm not going to say I wished anything. But he scares me. He scares me. I mean,
in a good way, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, he really is the antithesis of the Jedi and everything with it now, because there is zero respect for life or zero respect between connections. It's all about greed and taking more and more. Very parasitic, but he is endlessly fascinating. Yes. Okay, well, let's go ahead and take a really quick break. When we return, Maggie and Candace and I will share our next 2 favorite spoiler-free moments from Light of the Jedi. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books but can't find the time? Try listening to them on audio, featuring sound effects, top-notch narrators, and music directly from the movies. Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. Centuries before the Skywalker saga, a new adventure begins. The High Republic is a massive, interconnected, cross-publisher initiative focused on an all-new era of Star Wars storytelling. Listen to Star Wars Light of the Jedi, written by Charles Soule and read by Mark Thompson, and A Test of Courage, written by Justina Ireland and read by Kaylor Lee. Visit penguinrandomhouseaudio.com/coffee with Kenobi to listen to clips and find your next listen, or buy now wherever books and audiobooks are sold. And here's a clip from Light of the Jedi Now, read by Mark Thompson.
Who are we? Pan Eta roared, his already deep voice bellowing out of his huge chest, amplified and distorted by the mask he wore, which was itself a distorted version of his native Doetin face, with massive, heavy brows and horns sprouting from his chin. His words crashed out across the sea of faces staring up at him and the others at his table. Most in the crowd wore masks of their own, of many designs, but one purpose: few thousand people from many worlds across the galaxy, unified by a desire to take and kill and eat.
The Nihil!
Came the response, a thunderclap rolling back at him.
What do we ride?
Lorna D cried, lifting a clenched fist on a thin, bare arm cabled with muscle. She was Twi'lek, of about 40 years, whip-thin with green skin, the color of swamp water. Emaciated Leku with bone-white stripes dangling from the back of her head. She wore armored leather made from the hide of a Kel dragon and a mask to match, with just the one arm bare and a single long-bladed knife sheathed on her thigh. Lorna stood next to Pan Eta on a raised platform at one end of the great hall of the Nihil, at a banquet table covered with rich food and potent liquor. Dozens more of these tables were placed throughout the hall, amid towers of flame pushing back the endless night. They were laden with indulgences for all to consume from as they chose. Food, drink, drugs, as much as they liked.
The storm!
The Nihil shouted back. The third and final of the Tempest Runners shouted his own question. This was Cassiv, an aged Weequay with skin like sun-dried meat, wearing only a fur cape, stained leather trousers, and his own mask, a thin plate of hammered metal with slits cut into it for eyes, nose, and mouth. A horrible parody of a face.
Who guides us?
He bellowed. Came the answer, and at these words, the Nihil turned toward another platform, set lower than that of the Tempest Runners, where one person sat alone at an empty table.
MEI and Mouse Fan Travel is your one-stop shop for your vacation needs and your plans to Walt Disney World, Disneyland, or the cruise lines. Travel looks much different now than it did a couple of months ago, and with the opening of Walt Disney World and soon, hopefully, the opening of Disneyland, you need a place to go where you can trust, and they will help you figure out and navigate all the different circumstances and guidelines that Disney has put out for you. And I can say that we had our vacation modified, and as soon as dates were announced, MEI contacted me directly to help me reschedule, which is exactly what I was hoping to do. So if you are interested in rescheduling your vacation or want to try to plan a Walt Disney World, Disneyland vacation, or anywhere else you want to go on the planet, be sure to contact MEI and Mouse Fan Travel at www.coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel. Their signature service and expert advice will help you maximize your vacation time and dollar, and they will help you figure out all the different changes and modifications going on at the Disney theme parks. They are amazing, and I can tell you, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, the peace of mind that Becky Mencken and the crew at MEI and Mouse Fan Travel have given me is invaluable. If you're interested at all, again, go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel. We are back. Yes, so we've got two more left for our spoiler-free things, and you two have been awesome. You've been very, very vague, and it's making, hopefully, if people haven't read it yet, but if you've read it, you know what we're talking about, which is fun to kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together. But if you haven't read it, it's going to make you even more curious, because this is a compelling book. I mean, either of you, where would you rank this one as far as Star Wars novels go? We'll just stick with the canonical Star Wars novels.
For me, I think it's up near Jason Fry's adaptation of The Last Jedi, which is one of my favorite books. Mm-hmm. And it kind of also, because I'm an expanded universe kid, it definitely ranks up with some of my favorite expanded universe books.
Oh, that's cool. Give us a few of your favorite expanded universe books.
Oh, I was a huge fan of the New Jedi Order. That entire series was just
but Chewie.
Everything. I know, but Chewie.
Oh, that's cool. Candace, what about you?
Yeah, it's up there. I love everything Claudia Gray does, and I'm really excited about her new book too. So it's right up there with the Princess Leia of Alderaan and Bloodline.
Yes.
I'm always get those confused. confused. Bloodlines and blood ties.
Bloodline, to me, Bloodline is the best.
Yeah.
The absolute best Star Wars book. I love Tarkin by James Luceno. Yes. I think that's excellent as well. And I would say this is definitely top 5, because when it was done, I didn't want it to end. And sometimes, I'm sure you both feel the same way, but sometimes, as much as I love me some Star Wars, sometimes it feels like homework. And this did not feel like work. This was effortless, and I legitimately didn't want it to finish. So let's go ahead and get back into our list. Maggie, what is your 4th one?
So Martian Row is also one of my favorite parts of this book. I was really intrigued with how Charles kind of sprinkled in little key pieces about his background and made it very clear that that's going to be expanded upon. And so that made me really excited. And like, my book is filled with Post-it notes because I went through and like was highlighting different, I don't mark my pages, but I put little sticky notes in it to go back to. And there's so many little nuggets about Martian Row that I'm like really hoping will be expanded on.
Kudos to you for not actually writing in your book.
I can't stand it.
No. See? Okay, I'm an English teacher, and I'm the only teacher in my department that will not write in their books. I can't do it. I just can't. No way.
It drove me crazy in college. I took a lot of English classes and everyone was writing their books and I was like, I can't do it.
Just like anarchists. I can't do it. All right. Candace, what about you? You're number 4.
Okay. I'm trying to think of non-spoilery things. And that includes just these small little detail that really stuck with me is that the Jedi ships are like different. So then they can feel the way it moves. So then they can use the Force to pilot, and that just like blew my mind. I'm like, that makes sense. It was just such a nice little detail.
Oh, I agree. And how they use their lightsabers to enhance the weaponry on Starcraft.
Yes. All those things, like little things, just build into this lore that we already have, and just makes it feel bigger.
I agree. So my number 4, I just have 2 words: The Rescue. That the worst thing for me about The Rescue is that you have to wait while you're waiting, if that makes sense. Because they're Charles, while he's weaving this tale for us, they're not interludes, but they're just kind of shift to different perspectives. I will say, as a side note, I love there's not really a main character. I mean, maybe Martian Row is the main character, honestly, sort of like Thanos in Infinity War. But, well, no. But anyway, that just the idea that they have a focal point, but they're not the focal point. It's an incredibly daunting thing to add a new element of Star Wars, but to create a narrative where you're introducing a lot of characters at the same time, but it's very satisfying when you go through those arcs. Anyway, I'm babbling. I love The Rescue. And when you read it, you're going to see why. There's an anticipation level there in a book full of anticipation moments that is par excellence. All right. Maggie, your last one. Now, do we have honorable mentions, by the way?
I'm sure I could think of a few.
Yeah, right? Yeah, for sure. Okay, go ahead.
So I don't want to spoil it, but Avar Kriss and Elzar Mann.
Stop stealing my stuff.
That is going to come up for years.
So fascinating, and something I have been desperately waiting for Star Wars to allude to, hint at, set up.
Yes. I agree. It's hard, isn't it?
It's so hard.
This is unfair. Like, why did you ask me on for this show, Dan? All right, Candace, your last one.
I just like Great Storm. He's cool. Without giving things away.
I know.
You know how you just like read or like you see a character and you're just like, I think he's going to be like one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. I do. I can't wait for action figures for all of them.
Yeah.
Same.
I always pictured him looking like Saeed's team from the prequels, even though he doesn't look like that. It's not even the same species. But he's got the best Dungeons and Dragons Star Wars name ever. Loden Greatstorm. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm.
And his lightsaber has, I think his one has, doesn't he have a cross on his? A cross?
I think he does.
I feel like he does. I don't know. Candace is looking. I have faith in you.
Yeah, no, because think it does. I had all the characters out because I didn't want to mess up their names because they're just so.
Hey, it's okay. Most people wouldn't even know because there's.
I need it flashcards.
Yes. Ooh, I like that. Are you listening, Del Rey? Give Maggie a percentage. That was her idea. All right, that's cool. So did you find it? Was I right?
I think so.
Okay. If not, we'll just pretend.
I'm gonna look up the picture of him.
Yeah, please do. So while you're looking that up, no, maybe not.
He doesn't. He just has a gold
and yellow.
But I'm trying to remember what was in the book, though.
Gold.
Oh, it's Stellan that has the.
Stellan Geos has the cross guard. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And he's featured more in Claudia's book. Yeah. So good. All right. So my number 5 is the pacing of the first 100 pages. It really is a breakneck, adrenaline-filled opening because there are a number of times when things just sort of happen abruptly that you're not expecting. And I think that is definitely an art as a writer. If you can do that and pace it in such a way that people don't want to read to the last sentence because they're too busy cranking in every word that you're pouring into us, I think it's phenomenal. That first 100 pages, there's nothing like it in Star Wars literature. I love the adrenaline-filled expectations that are created in that atmosphere.
I agree.
So good. Well, is there anything else that either of you want to mention about Light of the Jedi?
Jedi Wookiee. I mean,
yes.
And Trandoshan.
Yes.
That's, yeah. Because, Trandoshans have only been seen in a negative light.
Mm-hmm.
At least in most of the Star Wars media.
Oh, yeah.
So it's nice to see them, be the good guys.
I like the description of the reptilian muscle and the fact, well, I almost, never mind. Yeah, we better change the topic. Very well. That's very, very cool. So we're having a lot of fun, obviously, but there's something that is much more important and much more valuable for us to talk about. And I know that this is something that's very, very near and dear to your hearts and mine as well. Trans rights are human rights. This is the way. Talk to us about this wonderful thing that you have going through GoFundMe. Then we'll steer people towards that as well. But please share with us all about what's going on with this.
So we started this back in September in response to some things that were going on in the Star Wars fandom. It is still open. So we had originally planned for it to end in December with the Mandalorian finale. But because of how GoFundMe works, it is still open. And actually, I think we had a donation a couple weeks ago. So it is still definitely being used, and it goes directly to the Trans Law Center. Which is a nonprofit that helps transgender individuals, and it has a really diverse board and is very focused on Black, Indigenous people of color who are definitely prejudiced against at higher rates. And so it was really nice to see that was their focus.
Absolutely. Candace, anything to add to that?
It was just amazing seeing how the Star Wars fandom came together. And like they say in Rise of Skywalker, there are more of us.
Mm-hmm.
And we raised almost $20,000 from September until December.
Isn't that, that is amazing. That is how can you not smile at something like that? Seriously, Star Wars fans sometimes get a lot of flack, and sometimes rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that's a small amount that just, whatever, they can stay over there. I love this because we do care about each other. We do love one another. We do see the good in everyone. And this is, God bless you both for what you've done and what you've done, what you've created. When you see how much money you've raised, how does it make you feel?
There were so many tears.
I know. It's been 2020. Everyone, it was an awful year. And it was hard to get back when you're like locked down in your quarantine. But like, being able to do this really gave some purpose to that year. And it's going to be the highlight of my 2020, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And I always say that, it's one thing to say that you're an advocate or an ally, but you actually have to put that advocacy into action. And so that was part of what kind of precipitated this was like, I can be really angry on Twitter, or I can like do something to try to make a change. Yes. And so it was just really nice to see the entire Star Wars fandom, from fans to creators to, you know, performers and people at, you know, Lucasfilm, lending their support to this. It was really encouraging and definitely made 2020 a highlight. And, you know, it's important to continue to show that support into the new year as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even when this GoFundMe is no longer in service, there will still always be a need for compassion and empathy and kindness, and to reach out to people. People, you know, you never know what someone is feeling or what they're going through, but so you have a conversation with them, you reach out to them, and that's important. That matters. And you've blown the goal out of the water, which is so impressive. So who was the person that actually started this?
That was Maggie.
That was what we call in the trade baiting you to answer. Yes, good.
Yes. So it was, one day I was just seeing what was going on, and I was seeing how like angry everybody was. And I was just like, okay, let's do something. And so I just like put out a call to action basically on Twitter. Candace and our friend Eric reached out to me, and literally within an hour we had the fundraiser up. Candace was making fantastic art and using her marketing skills to help us kind of capture people's interest. And we blew past our first goal within an hour, and it just felt like the sky was the limit. And it was just so encouraging to see people rallying together for a very important cause and also showing that they care. And I know that the Trans Law Center has truly reacted so positively to this, and like their messages to us have just been so encouraging and kind. And it's just nice to see that, you know, one small stone can have a very wide ripple.
Yeah, well said. Well said. So if people want to contribute to this worthy cause, where can they go to do so?
You can go, it's still on my Twitter account. It's still pinned at the top of my page. It's on GoFundMe. You can also search for active fundraisers for the Trans Law Center on GoFundMe, and it should be one of the top 2.
Certainly. And I know I retweet out, and we'll make sure to promote it on Coffee with Kenobi as well.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are with Dan Z, the podcast you're looking for. This is...
As we near the end of the show today, I want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy schedule to have a cup of coffee with me, and for helping to spread the word about our Star Wars family we've got here at Coffee with Kenobi. Be sure to tune in Monday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live at www.coffeewithkenobi.com/live or www.facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi, and have a cup of coffee, tea, or any beverage of your choosing with me as we continue the conversation. To join us in the CWK Cafe, which is our Facebook group, and share your Star Wars thoughts, comments, reviews, and opinions in a family-friendly, spoiler-free place that is also drama-free, go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/community and be part of the conversation, talk about this week's show, or just talk about some Star Wars. We have a lot of fun, and you'll make some new friends, as well as catch up with longtime friends along the way. I also want to thank all of the new and longtime members of the CWK Alliance, and let you know how much I appreciate your help and encouragement. I really appreciate our CWK Alliance members: Carol Cantwell, James Kersey, Greg Hargrove, Cato McNichol, Mary Purdue, Terry King, Smooth Rivera, J.C. Poe, Ed Kimoto, Robert Avila, Dustin Mills, Chelsea Sansbury, Tyler Pompa, Hannah, Alex Procasio, Ian Thompson, David Nicely, Simbot Deptadarian, Christine Turk, Ross Halliban, Kurt McQuellan, Dan Ream, Colby Mead, Brian Harding, Frank Mulder, Blake Weaver, Chris Metz, LJ Souter, Chris Skavarka, Jeff Ellis, Yancey Evans, Daz Davies, Susan Gray, Thea Selby, Christian Dale, Brian McKinney, Jim Capron, Connie Shee, Jared Cantor, Jason Hall, Eric Struthers, Greg McLaughlin, Aaron Harris, Mark Suter, Angela Sauce, and Dennis Keithley. If you want to join the CWK Alliance, go to www.cwkalliance.com and sign up today. Not only will you help out Coffee with Kenobi, but you also get access to CWK Pour-Over, the exclusive weekly podcast not heard anywhere else. It's a great way to support and help out the show, and 10% of your monthly contributions go directly to the St. Jude Children's Hospital to support the incredibly important work they are doing to help these brave children and their families. Plus, contributors at the CWK All-Star level can watch a video podcast of CWK Pour-Over hosted by me, Tom Gross, and Corey Clubb. Feel free to reach out anytime if you have any questions. In addition to being part of the community on Facebook, please don't forget to visit our website at www.coffeewithkenobi.com for Star Wars news, announcements, reviews, videos, and so much more. If you have a question for me or just want to share your thoughts on the air, feel free to email me at danz@coffeewithkenobi.com, and I'll share them on the show. You can also connect with me on Twitter at Mr. Zaire, MRZEHR, or on Instagram at DanZareCWK. There are also a lot more ways to connect with me and Coffee with Kenobi on social media. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi. Check us out on Pinterest or subscribe to our Coffee with Kenobi YouTube channel. On our YouTube channel, you can find Facebook Live video, different interviews throughout the years, highlights of video coverage throughout the Coffee with Kenobi history, and the audio podcast itself. You can order my book, The Star Wars Book, which I co-wrote with Lucasfilm's Pablo Hidalgo and Cole Horton, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Books A Million, Walmart, or anywhere books are sold. You can also find my writing on Coffee with Kenobi's website, as well as StarWars.com, where I am an official blogger there, and on IGN, where I contribute occasionally to articles about Star Wars, as well as other popular culture topics. If you are considering starting a podcast or a blog, let me know how I can help you get started and make your creative vision a reality. Be sure to check out danzmedia.com and we can get the process started. I am also available to come to your school, conference, business, or organization to talk about how to tap into your strengths and help you bring out your very best. I want to inspire you to be inspired so you can take that first step into a larger world. Thanks as always to our Coffee with Kenobi sponsors, especially MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, our travel partner and your one-stop shop for all things Walt Disney World, Disneyland, the Disney Cruise Lines, or anywhere on the planet you want to go on your vacation. Please go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel to book your magical vacation and help support Coffee with Kenobi in the process. If you like the show, please tweet out that you're listening, share it on Facebook, or invite your friends and family to tune in and share a cup of coffee with us. And if the Force is especially with you, please take a couple of minutes to rate and review the show on iTunes or Google Podcasts. Every review makes a huge difference and helps to spread the word, and I can't thank you enough for your help, for your support, and your friendship. I love so much being a part of this wonderful Star Wars community, and I can't thank you enough for all that you do for me and Coffee with Kenobi. Candace and Maggie, thank you both so much for being on the show. It was great fun to talk about Light of the Jedi, and also really almost impossible to do, but you both pulled it up beautifully. So I was very happy about that, and thank you for sharing this important information about this really worthy cause. Maggie, where can people reach out to you if they want to continue the conversation?
You can find me over on Twitter at Maggie of the Town.
Awesome. And Candace, what about you?
I run the Geeky Waffle Twitter accounts. It's geeky_waffle. If anybody wants to message me, I'm there.
I love it. Well, hey, thank you both so very much for being on Coffee with Kenobi.
Thanks for having us.
You bet.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here. Move along.
Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Featuring sound effects and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. Listen to Star Wars Light of the Jedi, written by Charles Soule, read by Mark Thompson, and Star Wars The High Republic, A Test of Courage, written by Justina Ireland and read by Kaylor Lee. Available now wherever audiobooks are sold.